Blog Talk Radio.
Here we go with the main event of the evening. Ladies and gentlemen in attendance, boxing fans joining us around the world. It's time for the bout you've all been waiting for. Finally, it is showtime.
Here, man, we dedicate our life to this sport. We do thousands of sit-ups in camp. We run hundreds of miles, for the ones that take it serious. And we just dedicate ourselves fully to our craft, man. We watch tape. We have attitude, we rooting, and we go into that fight just to land on the line.
What up, boxing fans? This is the Rope a Dope Radio Podcast. I am your host, Chris Carlson. We are live a day later than normal. My apologies. There has been a couple of things going on. As you know, everybody's in a different situation, but in some ways, a similar situation. Like I said, everybody's financial situation is different. And I just want to say, my thoughts go out to a lot of folks out there. Like I said, some are in the same boat. We're all kind of dealing with this on different levels. You know what I mean? Whether you're a doctor or a nurse or anybody working, testing these folks, taking care of these folks, doing their job, government workers. I mean, I definitely, my thoughts go out to you, and we appreciate that, of course. And hopefully everybody's just doing their part. There's so many unknown things when it comes to this that, some people think, oh, we're going overboard. But why not go overboard for a little while like this? You know what I mean? Because we just don't know. So I'm not here to talk about, the actual virus and what it's going to do and all that, because there's so many unknowns. What we do know tense in a short period of time. That's what we do know. So like I said, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on information and, in my opinion, based off certain stuff that we have right now. There's actually some news breaking right now that hopefully there's, some improved tests that you can that'll help cure this thing a little quicker. But yeah, I mean, as far as a cure, that's a long ways off. But like I said, everybody's in a different situation, whether you have to go to work and you're still around people, if you can work at home, that's very a fortunate place to be. You know what I mean? So I definitely can relate minorly to a lot of folks out there, and I use the word minorly because, like I said, everybody's in, a different financial place, different financial situation. You know what I mean? As far as like not working because of it, I definitely am one of those. I work at a bar, so that's closed for at least until next week. At the end of it, basically to the end of March, and then they're gonna take a look at where we're at. So I'm up in the air too. It's kind of crazy. My bar and my sports podcast are effective majorly, especially like in something like boxing. I mean, the biggest one was college basketball because that's what should be going on normally right now. So that one was a big one in general. But like I said, there's so many other important things that we got to worry about. So, am I going to address the virus in a way of, what's the outlook for 2020? Can we have fights in June or July? And I'm going to kind of relate it to what the NBA is thinking, what other sports are thinking. There's actually going to be some live racing on FS1 as of right now anyway. So, and I mean car racing. I think I don't remember which one it is. I don't think maybe it's a different style of NASCAR. it's not a big NASCAR race, but I think there is some other race going on, and they plan on doing it as we speak. I don't know. I mean, the WWE I heard about too, but the point is, I'm going to talk about the virus a little bit, but it just as it pertains to people that have, like, tickets to events that haven't been postponed yet, but you're wondering. To tickets, get you some information on the, some of the tickets that have already been purchased, and it's postponed or canceled. So there's just a variety of stuff I'm going to talk about when it pertains to that, of course. But, there's not a whole lot we can do except do our parts. And so we got to get our minds on other stuff as well. Once you do take care of friends and family and yourself, you do have to have some distractions here. You know what I mean? It'll be interesting to see what the Zone does over the next couple of months. I'll give you a little information as far as you don't have to cancel. You can kind of put your account on hold, yada, yada, yada. So there is a variety of stuff that we'll talk about. Some of the items we'll talk about is the news about Canelo and Golovkin 3 being a done deal as far as the paperwork and the agreements and the plans. We did talk about it last week how DAZN had a meeting with Canelo and he was going to sit down. Or they were going to sit down. Well, that's what a meeting is, isn't it? No, but Skipper was going to, have a 3-fight plan for him is the big thing that they talked about. And it does sound like, they up the money is what it sounds like, that they upped the money for it. So I don't know. We'll see. A lot of people are saying, well, are they going to go right to that? Are they not? Golovkin, was a little hurt. Is he going to have a fight? Are they going to both have fights before? And obviously a lot of this stuff is in flux, but there has been some news. I don't know if I 100%, believe it for sure. And even if it is for sure, as far as on paper, as we know with this virus thing, nothing really is for sure besides, try not to go outside. You can go outside. People are kind of confusing some of this stuff. You can go outside to walk your dog or get some exercise or go outdoors. It's not that you can't go outdoors in general, but it's really just the limited stuff. You know what I mean? So we'll talk a little bit about that. Talk a little bit about, rest in peace, Roger Mayweather, who was pretty damn good fighter himself, two-weight division. The original Black Mamba. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We'll talk about, we'll just talk about like the boxing schedule, some of the stuff that's been postponed and pushed back. There is a pay-per-view that got pushed back to the middle of the summer that we'll talk about. And then, of course, we got to talk a little bit about this Tyson Fury thing as it pertains to this farmer coming up saying, well, remember the wild boar thing? If you haven't followed this story, I'm going to read a couple articles. You can read them yourself if you'd like. I'm not going to bring you all this facts because we really don't know. I'm just going to report what's going on and give my take on it. But, yeah, we do know the wild boar scenario, right? Much like the tainted meat. I mean, it'd be the same difference. For Canelo and many other, Mexican fighters in the last whatever chunk of years. But so that was actually the reason or the excuse that Fury did use. And as far as, I was eating wild boar, and that substance you're telling me that I tested positive for is in that wild boar. So there's a lot to take in when it comes to that. I'll give you some quotes. I'll give you both sides of the quotes. Basically, this guy's alleging, and of course this story is alleged, that he didn't get his money. That he didn't get his freaking money. So he's like, hey, I was paid off. I was supposed to be paid off, and now I haven't been. So, it's really tough to know, but it does sound like UKAD may open an investigation because they basically have to, even if it is just this conspiracy. Obviously, there's been a variety of conspiracies for Tyson Fury, and I've only really settled in on the left glove in the first fight was messed up. And then, the Christian Hammer thing, obviously there was something wrong with his glove there, but a lot of the other stuff, I've kind of talked through those conspiracy theories, and a lot of that stuff is just, I just don't believe it to be a deciding factor, especially we're talking about. So this is going to be a little, there was a press release, from Top Rank in MTK Global, I should say, and Frank Warren's outfit too. So we'll talk a little bit through that. It was kind of weird because, there was reports about a fight taking place in Australia with Fury, and there's just been a lot of reports. You know what I mean? And so I don't know what's going on with, when it comes to that. We'll update you on just a variety of, news items. Nothing late breaking news. Well, it may happen here. I mean, not long ago, I was doing a show, a live Viking show, just, a chunk of hours ago, I should say, not even a few days ago. And we were doing the show, and Stephon Diggs got traded right during the show. So I guess there could be some breaking news or whatever, but in the end, there is a lot of stuff to talk about when it comes to boxing, not just the coronavirus or we're all screwed or, you know what I mean? So I'm going to kind of talk you through it. I will be talking about some reports so far when it comes to the first quarter of the 2020 boxing year thus far. I will also be talking about probably in a couple of weeks, episodes-wise, maybe 2 episodes from now. I'm not really sure. But I will be doing some stuff that I mentioned with I've done a progress report basically after a year plus of a deal, like I did it for ESPN with the Top Rank deal. I've done it for DAZN in their first year plus of operation, and now I'm going to do one for the PBC and Fox now that we're well into the second year of that deal, and just kind of look at it from a glance, that type of thing, and give my pros and cons, basically, my good, my great, my good, my bad, and ugly of the scenario. So that'll be coming up. I think just because of content, I will minorly change the format to get some more interviews. I think that's a smart thing. If you've listened to the show for a while, we used to do a ton of interviews, and we changed the format for specific reasons. And we do them once in a while, but just not a ton. Usually, if someone contacts me, I'll do interviews. You know what I mean? It's not that I'm against interviews whatsoever, but it just makes sense to do a couple more. I'd like to get Jamal Herring, on. We talked to him before, after his big win, and now he's got a big fight. Maybe it happens in June. Maybe it gets pushed back later. We really don't know. But try to get I'm going to get Jamal James on. There's a couple of, I'm going to start to kind of hit that up minorly. I don't know, we don't really know where this thing's headed. So I can't sit there and say that I'm going to start to talk classic boxing fights from the last decade or something like that. I may have segments, you know what I mean? I may have just a variety of segments. What I can tell you is we're probably not going to do 2:45, 3 hour, 2 hours, 45 minute, 3 hour shows, because a lot of that, we try to stick to, a lot of times we start the show, as with recap, and we like to keep it in the ring for a good chunk of the content, whether it's predicting what's going to go on in the ring in a fight for the upcoming weekend, or, like I said, opening with recap. But obviously we can't really do too much of that. There is some fights that we never really got around to previewing that we assume are going to happen at some point in 2020, but it's really vague. You know what I mean? So there's going to be segments. There's going to be not just boxers, but there'll be a guest a host or guest, just coming on to talk different topics about boxing and whatnot. But anyway, I went over some of the items that we're going to talk about. If this is your first time listening to the Rope-A-Dope Radio podcast, it streams live right here on blogtalkradio.com/Rope-A-Dope Radio. So it streams live. It archives there. It's basically the headquarters. And the Rope-A-Dope Radio. Ooh, sorry about that. I just hit something and it moved my whole mic around. All right. The Rope-A-Dope Radio podcast is boxing first, but we do have football and basketball stuff. Obviously not basketball stuff right now, but we are NFL heavy for the coming weeks. I'll say that. NFL really dodged a bullet on this one, if you think about it, compared to all the other sports. Let's put it that way. I can't really say dodged a bullet in general because we really don't know the outcome of this stuff, but they can still operate. They can still do what they have to do. And free agencies, a big time for the NFL as well. So just so you know. But anyway, as far as the Rope-A-Dope Radio podcast platform, like I said, you don't have to just listen to it on Blog Talk. You don't have to just download it here. You can find it on Apple Podcast. If you rate and review the show there, it helps greatly. Player FM, tune in, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, Stitcher, really across the board. I'm also part of the Grueling Truth Sports Podcast Network, which you can find across the board, including Spotify. You can use your Siri or Alexa through Spotify or tune in to find the platform. Why don't you head on over to thegruelingtruth.com. That's thegruelingtruth.com. It's boxing, it's football, it's basketball, it's baseball, it's everything in between. They got a great sponsor over there, betnow.eu, with the promo code TGT, as in the Grueling Truth. And real quick, if you're thinking about cutting the cord, or you have and you're not happy, I mean, right now, if you have enough finances and your job is still going, you're going to be spending a lot of time inside. So this is something that really pertains to this time of year, whether March Madness is going on or not, unfortunately. AT&T TV Now, it's live streaming cable. I have it myself. So I'm not only a client. I'm not going to give you that biggie line. AT&T TV Now, they have the 7-day free trial. There's no annual contracts to stick you down for. I don't know why I just said it that way. Plans start as low as $60 a month. You can stream it anywhere. They have the cloud DVR. And boxing fans, it's only $11 for Showtime right now on AT&T TV Now. Boxing fans, I say that now. We know there's no boxing right now, but, Showtime does offer other stuff too right now. So it's AT&T TV Now. That's a live streaming platform. But if you're in an area of the country where the internet just sucks, or, you're not going to pay to get it way upgraded, they do have AT&T TV, and that's your normal cable package. And that's available across the country in limited areas. It's here in Minneapolis, Minnesota, parts of New York, California, Texas, all the way up to Seattle, and other places like St. Louis in the Midwest. Basically, just Google it and put your area code in there, and you can see if the AT&T TV, the normal cable package, is available in your area. But, hey, if you got good enough internet, AT&T TV Now, it's live streaming cable. Most people have it enough, but, it's live streaming, so it's a little bit different than archive stuff. Anyway, let's get into it, man. I mean, this is pretty crazy. This is to say the least. I'm not really, reinventing the wheel here. I mean, this is a pretty intense time across the world, not just here in the States. Obviously, we're starting to get the trickle. I bring up the States because I live in America, and also because of our population, and also because we're now in the moment of where Italy and a variety of Spain and a variety of other places were not that long ago. So we're really looking at just how bad it's going to get. And so that's kind of why we have a different take on it here so far because we're like, man, we're bracing for stuff, whereas Italy and of course China and other places really know how bad it is in their country. Some of it's going to have to do with population density. If you look at, just look at Italy in general, some of their major cities, the amount of tourism, people coming and going, the northern part of Italy, and we know the Chinese, there was a heavy population of people in general, but especially Chinese people that did go, to China for the New Year and stuff like that, and they came back. And so Italy has a variety of stuff that a lot of countries don't have. And so maybe that's why they're getting it, the worst right now beyond China and Spain too, of course. It's really tough, but obviously the population density is going to be, huge. I mean, we all know some of those European cities, especially we're talking about Italy, are just, built on top of each other. So it's basically like here, for example, New York City, LA, you saw those two jump out way ahead. Boston, even a place like Baltimore or some of these old New Jersey, the population density and just how the cities are built and built out. Obviously in Washington, Seattle jumped on stuff early too because they had, that issue with that nursing home. And so, it's infecting there quicker, right now anyway. So, and then, in America is such a wide spread out country, so it is a little bit different than say a Europe or whatever. So we're just kind of right now, just like, I don't know what's going on. And each state is, doing other stuff. They just don't, everyone's on a different timeline in a sense. You know what I mean? I heard West Virginia is the only one, but they're not testing barely. They've done, I think, under 100 tests as of not long ago, or maybe under 200 tests. So, and I'm assuming, I haven't even checked in a while, but I'm assuming that unfortunately, that more than likely, that's not even the case anymore. But I hope the best in general. There are some states that no one's passed yet. That Minnesota, no one fortunately has passed yet on it. You know what I mean? But then again, we do have to ramp up our testing, right? So a lot of this is just like everyone kind of sticking together, everyone just kind of working your way through this. I really think that the NBA canceling, their games and all that, once Rudy Gobert got the virus, then all of a sudden it was like, okay, we got to stop this stuff. We got a bunch of dudes. We got a basketball. The basketball, goes into the crowd. We got heavy breathing. We know you can contract it through the air. We don't know how. We don't know a ton about that yet, all the way, as far as every last detail. I mean, that's part of this thing. So I'm not going to sit there and talk too much more about this, guys, as far as from the scientific, that type of stuff. You know what I mean? Just because there's so much unknown. I just really hope for everybody, to be as safe as possible. We are all going to be affected, not all, but, a lot of people are going to be affected in some way, whether it's someone gets it or this or that or whatever. You know what I mean? There is a lot of stuff going on. So I'll just kind of leave it at there. Obviously, this stuff we'll talk about pertaining to the boxing schedule and whatnot. We'll talk about it then, but I'm not going to go in on too much on, the actual issue because there's so many unknowns, like I said. So there's a variety of stuff as far as postponements and, obviously, well, we know for a while now, March is done in April. The last chunk of days, April's done too, as far as boxing goes. And a lot of it is like the next few weeks to see how bad it gets, to see if it does reach the level of what it's doing in Italy percentage-wise and all that. You know what I mean? So it's really tough, but April's done, you know. April's done for sure, obviously. And, yeah, there's fights scheduled in March or in May, in June, but we just really don't have a clue about any of that. Like I said, the NBA have said that they are targeting like a vague target of mid to late June, but it's a vague target. Like I said, you know, it's like the first plan they have before they find out what these next couple of weeks look like. And that's kind of what government and like a lot of stuff people are doing is just kind of, and personally, just like me, you know, out of work at a bar right now, you know, I can't go to the bar. So not to drink, but I'm saying to work. And so we're all kind of like, all right, well, let's see what this looks like in 10 to 14 days and then go from there. And that's basically what you got to do, unfortunately. So there were some talks about, we're going to move, you know, we're going to move it to a TV studio. We know Bob Arum said that. Eddie Hearn has said that. The UFC has said that they'll just do it right at their training facility. And, you know, there is, once some of this stuff is figured out, like I just mentioned, in the next 10 to 14 days, when I say figured out, that's kind of an ignorant way to say it. But to get a better look at what we're dealing with, you know, folks, Eddie Hearn said it, especially in the UK when they're just now shutting stuff down, and for the most part in the country, I believe. But there is a way that when and if we can bring this back here, even if it's in a couple months, like I said, June, July, whatever, there is a way, if you look at other team sports compared to boxing, you know what I mean? And if you look at gatherings of 50 or more, you know, there's definitely a way that boxing could get on TV and have their events with no fans. That's for sure. I mean, the NCAA tournament was going to have, they already made the announcement last week. Remember, they said, we're going to do the tournament, but with no fans. And then, like I said, once the NBA hit, then it was like, okay, forget it, you know, like we're just going to cancel everything. And also is the conference championships that got canceled first. So they were actually at that point willing to do that, because that is a big part of their revenue. And that's another thing when it comes to revenue in general, how it affects boxing, how it affects, you know, these leagues. There's a lot on the plate. And so, like I said, I mean, I could envision, and I'm just speculating here, whether it's July, whether it's late May, whether it's, who knows? You know what I mean? I could envision, you know, what Bob Arum and Eddie Hearn and others have said, and Dana White. I could envision combat sports to be able to do these fights. Yeah, they're missing out on gate, obviously. But to get back to business as even semi-normal, I could see a scenario in the distant, but not too distant future. I hate to speculate, but that's what we're doing here. You could see where actually boxing, I'm not going to use the word thrive, but if you think about attention in the nation, you know, if these other big sports can't get their league going, because look at how many, you know, folks are on a baseball team, like just sitting in a dugout, sitting in the bullpen. Like, is there 6 feet? Can you stand 6 feet away from everybody? That's the thing. You're not going to really have to do the 6 feet once we get this thing going, because otherwise they're not going to get this thing going. You know, if you still got to stand 6 feet away from people, I doubt they're going to have the league going then. You know what I mean? Because it just doesn't line up. But they may be, you know, be thinking about their bottom line so much that they may do just a makeshift thing. I mean, you could have a scenario where you could have players in the stands separated from each other. Like, that's it. I mean, just think about rosters. Like I said, a baseball roster. There's a lot of people on a roster. If you're going to only have 50 people and you're going to put it on TV, well, it's obviously going to be a limited TV. You see what I'm saying? Like, the team sports, they have even a bigger issue than that. And also, what hurts boxing normally is the league, right? It's the league. But, like, we don't have a league. And that hurts us. But in this situation, it doesn't because, in a couple of months, maybe these are the things that will be on TV, on Fox, on ESPN, on ESPN2, on FS1. You see what I'm saying? That's where I'm going with this, on Showtime, like on DAZN, on ESPN+. Like, boxing, in a sense, if you think about it long-term or short-term or whatever the hell it's going to be, my point is once things, if they can get up and running, whenever that is, boxing has an advantage there. Does that comfort you as a boxing fan? No, not totally. I mean, yeah, as a boxing fan, when you think I'm just trying to give folks some light at the end of the tunnel. Obviously, human lives are what, we got to focus on. And as of right now, you can see like South Korea, you can see some of the things going on in China that there is light at the end of the tunnel. It's just how bright is it right now? Because as we know with just the swine flu and all the flu seasons, it doesn't just run through your population over a month or two. It's a whole season, and sometimes like the swine flu, it can happen like sometime in around, April something, 2009, and go all the way near the end of the 2010 year. And it varies on what it's going to do in that sense. You know what I mean? We didn't shut anything down at that point at all. So, you know what I mean? That's what we're looking at. So I'm just trying to get your mind off all the serious stuff that's going on. And like I said, as far as everybody has a question, when the hell would this come back? That's a secondary, actually more than a secondary question. But let's be honest, that the people are thinking that once they're handling what's going on in their world. That's what I'm here for, to get your mind off it, and also just to kind of think like, hey, man, we're going to get through this. We're going to get through this. And once it does come back to any kind of normalcy, any kind, and whatever percentage that is, we're probably not going to go full board in normalcy, right? I highly doubt that. Even in the back of my head as a bar, there is going to be people on the back of their head that don't want to go out. When the bars do open again, will it be limited seating, number-wise? You know what I mean? So there is a lot to take in here. I actually see Carcino on the line here, so I'm going to pop in and see how he's doing. Like I said, there is a variety of stuff that we'll talk about. We'll give you some kind of strange but makes sense details about Canelo and Golovkin. Last show we did, like I mentioned, talk about how they have a 3-fight plan that John Skipper went face-to-face with Canelo, because Oscar and Canelo can't go face-to-face right now. They're talking with lawyers to each other. But Skipper can go face-to-face, and so I understand how they could make that fight and how they would make that fight. I just don't know if it would be next or if there'd be other fights. So we do have some information. A lot of people are like, so the Billy Joe Saunders fight wouldn't happen. No, there's a scenario where, let's say late summer, who knows, and then late winter would be, or, winter, like late 2020 with Canelo and Golovkin. We know DAZN right now, as far as realistic fights that you already have them contracted for, like the fighters, I should say, we all know since this whole thing started, that Canelo and Triple G trilogy, was the first and foremost one they wanted. Did they want Wilder Joshua? Do they want Joshua Fury? Yeah. That's all. That's a little bit more work, though. That's a lot more detail. Whereas this can be done if you just make it worth it. It does sound like they made it worth both their while, but really Canelo, because Canelo, held the chips there, obviously. But let's get to Carcino, man, and see how he's doing. Carcino, what's going on, man? How the hell are you, man? We got a lot going on in our country and across the world.
I'm feeling pretty good. I'm still surviving and trying to keep my head above water and, doing the best we can. But I'm doing pretty good, man. I mean, I haven't had any symptoms or anything, so I've been doing the precautions. Like right now, I'm washing my hands as we speak.
Yeah, I've never washed my hands so long, even like the last maybe 10 days before the shutdowns, like even at work, I had never washed my hands to that level. Like we always wash our hands a lot at work compared to the rest of society because, I work in the restaurant bar industry, so you had to anyway. But, man, I mean, every little thing you touch you had to, and you still have to in your normal life. And it's, there is a thing called OSHA standards, right? And, there's times when OSHA comes in and they dock you for some stuff where you're like, really, dude, you're going to dock you for that? These little points. But now, in this type of scenario, you're like, wow, I'm really glad that we have OSHA standards, and I'm glad that we have all this chemical to be able to use to cut down on some of this stuff. So, yeah, I hear you, man. And the symptoms, the biggest symptoms, flu-like stuff, but also being short of breath. And that's where they say it's different than the flu symptoms, that you're literally short of breath. So that would be different. We're not talking about a cough short of breath. We're talking about if you feel like you have the flu, your temperature's going high, the short of breath is what they say. It's something like, hey, if you're having short of breath, anytime you're having short of breath, you're probably going to want to go to the hospital. But we know that's not normally the case. But so yeah, man, I hear you. I'm feeling good right now too, and just a lot of what ifs and who knows. You know what I mean? It's really these next 10 to 14 days is really going to show us where we're at with the numbers. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And like for you, you're in the bartending industry, and that's the hard because you mostly depend on tips,
right.
for salary, and that's going to be hard because it's like okay, the stimulus package come in and we're getting so much, here and there, but I'm like, wait a minute, I'm living on my tips, so if you're paying me off my base salary, right. And that's what I feel. And like where we at, we have like the biggest bar, restaurant, that's like the entire town where we are. It's just bars and restaurants.
Right,
so,
exactly.
It's a lot of people going to be hurting for just even these 2 weeks. So they saying the first check's going out April 6th, and then in May, they're going to try to get these payments out because that destroys towns. That destroys a lot of communities. So, yeah, it's already.
Yeah, they really, and they got to get these small businesses too. If we're going to bail out the big ones, we got to help these small ones, and it can't be just you have to take a loan out. You know what I'm saying? There has to be a little bit more than, hey, take a loan. Well, hold on. Why don't they take a loan? Why don't the big wigs take a loan then? Why do you know what I mean? So it has to be on a level, and that's going to be the biggest thing there. But you're right, and a lot of people think, well, won't they just match what your salary is? No, they match your minimum wage salary for hours. That's what it is.
Exactly.
You get your minimum wage.
That's why I feel bad for Fish because 2 weeks, and he has a small bar. My buddy has a small bar in Fox Lake, and for him, I feel bad for him. He goes to the other bars too, and his bar's closed, but he's all depressed because in stress because not only his employer, he's like, most of them, they might be looking for work somewhere else, and by the time this thing's over, they probably working somewhere else, and then I got to try to find people. He's like, and, trying to keep my business afloat. He's like, we're a small business, so this is really going to hurt us, so, yeah, it's rough. It's more rougher for them, so I feel for them because, they got the rougher task at hand. Now, as far as, like, from the boxing standpoint, man, it's just been like update after update. You think that during this, where there's no fights really going on, how they're going to conduct and move around and do things. It's like all this news and, like, people that had nothing to do but to do business. I'm like, well, it's like the business don't stop. I'm like, so who's Canelo fighting now? I'm like, I'm so confused. Now is he fighting Triple G? Like who is it? What's official?
Yeah, like how is it official when you haven't even? I mean, you're signed for another fight. How is that official? I'm confused. Yeah.
Right. And so I'm sitting here like I'm confused now. He's like, he's fighting Triple G. I'm like, I haven't heard no news really. I've just seen people going, like posting like this is gonna be the big thing, Triple G3, and I'm like, one, I don't know if the May fight is even possible.
Exactly.
So that's the thing here because we don't know what the CDC is gonna say. The CDC is looking at June and July. So before they start really letting major events take place. Because just when you think you got it under control, boom, it could spiral out of control.
And that's what we don't know. If people got to think, even if you look at it, the flu season, how it goes in waves throughout the year. You know what I mean? It doesn't just come and go. And so we don't really know what this thing's going to do. So, yeah,
that's why they're trying to get this vaccine shot and get people that's like using DNA, uses your own DNA, and it tricks your system into start activating and fighting it early. So, because what one of the symptoms does is if your body's already fighting something else, it's kind of hard to fight this off, and then and it just takes over. That's why most of the elderly people, it hurts them the worst because their metabolism is not the same. So,
you're right. They're not able to fight off certain things that younger, healthier people are, and it does. The thing about it in our country and other countries like this too that don't have a great healthcare system. When people say, well, if you have internal stuff going on, well, there's a lot of people walking around this country that just go to work and do their grind and can't go to the doctor every time some kind of ache or stomach or this or that. So a lot of folks don't even know that they could have some sort of issue with their body going on, and they've just taken a Tylenol and grinded it through and felt okay. That's another scary thing. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, because it was like that beforehand. Health insurance is so expensive that, that was always a problem because now if you get hurt, you just can't up and go to the doctor. And most people don't do that anyway. It's like, okay, they tell me this is wrong. What's that going to change for me? Now I got a bill. So they're looking like, okay, I'm just going to just take some pills and just go to work because I can't afford to not go to work. I can't be laid up in the hospital all day. 2-3 days in the hospital, your check is short. You're behind on about 4 or 5 bills. Just that quick.
And just sometimes just to get, even if you have insurance, sometimes just to get the test to find out what you have is a huge bill. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just trying to find out what's wrong, and I'm paying $2,000.
Yeah. I mean, I went to the hospital. It was $10,000. My hospital bill, $10,000, and I was there less than 3-4 hours. That's not even me staying overnight. $10,000.
Right.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's out of hand.
Insane.
Yeah, and we're basically, as we talk about these different topics, like whether it's Canelo, Triple G, or certain fights that they've already pushed all the way back to July, like Du Bois and Joe Joyce, and we're basically trying to give people some sort of focus off of, once you've handled your stuff for the day, you do want to unwind. Obviously, even if you have a job and you're going to it, you're going to have to come home and you want to get your mind off stuff. We're just trying to give people something to take their mind off, and also the light at the end of the tunnel scenario. You know what I mean? So that's why we're really talking about this stuff. Like I said, we know that, April's all the way done already anyway, and you'd assume May too, but I did mention earlier that, and like I said, this is all just talk and hope, right? And this is after you've taken care of your family, yourself, all this stuff, of course. But, boxing does have an advantage, let's say midsummer, that they could do a fight with less than 50 people at it. You know what I mean? Whereas the other sports, that's going to be a rough one, and who really knows on all this stuff, but especially that, because, it actually could, exist, although the team and the league stuff hurts us in the day-to-day boxing politics, as we know, right, Garcino? It can actually help us because we don't have these huge sponsors that the league has to worry about. We don't have all these responsibilities that one league has to worry about. It's really like, hey, does the commission say it's good? Where's good? Okay, we're going to do it here. You know what I mean? So midsummer, you may be seeing events. I mean, half of the televised events have 1,000 or less people anyway, as it was. So, I mean, you could do shows without people in them and be okay that way, and have the proper spacing and all that. Besides the fighters, obviously, they wouldn't have the proper spacing, but you could do it. It's a lot less production rather than the MLB and just the roster of people on the team, rather than the NBA. Like, that is a whole different ball game. Even if they don't have a crowd, look at all the people that has to be there just on the team. You know what I mean? So
right.
you just wonder. You know what I mean? You just wonder about that stuff.
Yeah, and you're right. Because I was wondering about it myself. Because I'm just like, I don't know what they can do. If they're going to start doing, because they were talking about, Bob Arum was talking about doing events with nobody in there but media or just some people covering it and making it less than 50 people there and letting these fights take place. And I'm like, that's just not going to hit. I mean, I saw Vince McMahon do that program and do that exact same thing and just have the events like the SmackDown and everything else and put it out without the audience, and it was just terrible. And the whole event was terrible. It just looked like a wrestling practice or scrimmage. That's how bad it was. I said, oh, my God, this is terrible. And I said,
well, especially with the WWE, because the crowd, the crowd is so important, even more important than boxing, the crowd, you know what I mean? In that type of stuff. So what he's going to do now, exactly. So what he's going to do now is he's going to put artificial audience like responses to the sound, and everything. Yeah.
And I was saying he should have did that from the jump.
Yeah,
so now
he's
going to do that, and they're gonna go and see an experiment with adding the artificial audience sound. And I'm like, because that's what makes it live. That's what makes it. When you're watching it at home, you're used to it. I was watching that. I'm like, all I'm hearing is drop kicks and commentary.
Yeah, you hear the mat. Yeah, you hear the mat shaking. You know what I mean? Like, oh boy, I can hear the freaking ring shake. That's about it.
Yeah, and then the wrestlers, they're going through their progressions like there is an audience there. So it just looks weird, and it looks like rehearsal. So I'm like, I'm watching rehearsal, or is this a match? So you don't really know. So in a boxing match, it just would be weird without some of the crowd, the audience, and everything else. For boxing, I can turn the volume down and watch boxing. It don't matter. I
mean, a lot of those show boxes have 100 people, 200 people in the thing anyway. You know what I mean? So it's like,
exactly.
it's really it'd still be popping off in the ring with some real live action, but yeah, it still is different, no doubt.
Yeah. So looking at all of these events coming up, Adrian Broner, he's now after the DUI arrest. He's now talking about he's writing a stand-up. He's going to do a stand-up comedy now routine, and he's going to do a stand-up comedy show.
Is he going to live stream it or something?
I guess he is. He's going to do a stand-up comedy and try to put it on, like, pay-per-view. People buy it and get to see him do his stand-up.
Man, leave it to him. Leave it to him for that idea. But I'll give him credit for that, but wow. I mean, at least he's not getting another D-dub, I guess. That's,
I know. At least he's not on right. At least he's not on pay-per-view stealing people's money. Knowing he's not. Talking about he wants $20 million to fight Devin Haney. I'll fight Devin Haney because they pay me $20 million. It's like $20 million. Are you insane? I know my worth. Well, you know your worth. $20 million?
Right.
It's like, are you nuts? Now, I'll tell you one thing, though.
Haney. It's like, who do you think you're fighting? Canelo? Like, and it's not even 20 for Canelo.
Price.
Right.
Yeah. But I'll tell you another thing, though. If Canelo, speaking of Canelo, if he fights Billy Joe Saunders, that is, believe me, he's better off fighting Triple G than fighting Billy Joe Saunders. And I was like, now that's the fight that could not go his way. That fight could end up going the other way real fast. That fight is dangerous.
Stylistically, it is interesting. That's for damn sure.
He's big. He's slick. He's a big, slick fighter. And that is a problem for Canelo. Because if you fight a guy that's bigger than you, you want to at least have a little bit of an advantage. Billy Joe Saunders is not a soft puncher, and he's slick. He's not somebody you really can, tee off on. It's going to take a lot to get to Billy Joe Saunders. He's a guy who can set the offense and set the tone in the ring, so Canelo's going to have to adjust to that. He's used to guys who are kind of flat-footed and come right ahead, and even though it's like Danny Jacobs gave him some problems when he fatigued because Danny Jacobs was so big, this guy is more slicker and more fluid than Danny Jacobs is. And he knows how to be a good guy.
Aura and Floyd since he's even faced anybody with this real style, that's been doing it for their whole career.
Yep. So
I see him posting pictures of him still training too, Billy Joe, just in case. I'm still training, and he's here. He's already here in Vegas, so that's good. That's a good look for him. He's lucky he got here, dude.
Yeah, and I'm like, man, this is a massive fight. I was like, for Canelo, and that's why I was like, people can say what they want. That guy has fought nothing but competition in his entire career. He's had stiff competition. And I was like, look, you might have fought Mosley when Mosley was past his prime, but I'm like, this guy fought Austin Trout when he was undefeated. He fought Cotto, when Cotto was still Miguel Cotto. He was the middleweight champion, just beat Sergio Martinez, and his guy didn't run from anybody. He fought Lara, Erislandy Lara. He fought everybody. So I'm like, I don't want to hear them. Yeah.
We could talk about scorecards and who you think won this and won that. That's fine. Yeah. We're talking resume. This dude's fought all of them, dude. I mean, for the most part. I mean, this guy, he's already in the Hall of Fame, obviously. That's a given.
Exactly. I'm like, I got to put this guy up there because in my pound-for-pound list, I got him number 2. I got Chance Crawford, I got Canelo, then I'll put Lomachenko, up there. Lomo didn't have enough fights for me to really gauge him to throw him in there. But as far as skill set from the guys he's fighting, yeah. But I gotta go with Canelo on that one above him right now. Now,
yeah, I mean the guy's
fights,
he has the best resume for sure.
So if Tank Davis gets out, like he's gonna have a hard time with Leo Santa Cruz. Leo Santa Cruz is gonna be a tough fight for Gervonta Davis. They think that this is gonna be a walk in the park, and Tank lands something. Yeah, he can land something big, and it might hurt Leo, but Leo's an active fighter. He's a guy that's going to go down to the body. He's going to go up to the head. He's going to make Gervonta Davis have to work. And Davis is not a guy who works. He's a guy that throws one or two, a couple of punches per round, studies a guy and everything. Leo's a very active fighter. Very active.
Solid long jab, too. Got a solid long jab.
Yeah, and that's something for Tank he hasn't fought in a long time. Since he got the knockout win, but he was looking really bad in the fight against what's his name, Pedraza. I think that was when he fought Pedraza. He got the knockout victory in that fight, and that was a tough fight for him. And I was like, man, this is a tough fight for Tank. And the guy was whooping him, outboxing him. The guy from Puerto Rico, he was just taking him to school, giving him a boxing lesson. Then he just got caught. Tank kept going to his body, dropped him with a body shot, and knocked him out. But
I don't think he was taking him to school, though, because his schooling was, I'm coming at you. He actually went to Tank, which maybe he should have done.
Yeah, he went to Tank when he had to, because Tank was hitting him with body shots. He had to let him know he was there. But as far as boxing to get him, I mean, he was doing whatever he wanted.
So you had him up at the knockout?
I had him up.
You had
right before,
up in that fight?
Yeah, I had him up in that fight. He was winning on my card. Before he got dropped, he was definitely winning that fight. But it was a competitive fight. It brought out the most in Tank. But you don't know which Tank you're going to get. You get the Tank that's going to do the job, or he's got all this outside the ring stuff he's bringing in there, so his training is terrible. And when I watched him train, when he's in that Mayweather gym, and I was like, I saw it live, and I'm like, oh my God, bet whoever is going.
You definitely called that Fonseca. You definitely called that Fonseca. I remember, you coming on the show and saying, hey, he ain't gonna make weight. You might as well throw that out the whole thing, Like, no, you're right. When he's ready, when he's in shape and ready, be something real special, but you just don't know. You just don't know. And if this thing gets delayed more, that's more time for him to be like, I'm gonna have seconds. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. Now, is that fight going to be at 35 then, or is it going to be at 30? I mean, nothing's official, but what do you heard anything about
35, because there's no way Tank gonna make 30.
Right.
There's no way humanly possible Gervonta Tank Davis is gonna make 130 pounds. It's just not even remotely possible.
Leo tipped his hand too, saying he'd go to 35. So if he's saying it on camera, then that they can say, hey, you said you go to 35, so maybe they'll do a catchweight.
They'll probably, but I think 35 is probably where the fight's going to be, because there's no way Tank can make that. They're going to have to do something, but no. And like I said, when he's not there, like mentally, like focused, he is going to be terrible. Whenever he's on the stage to go to that next level, he just can't do it. Just can't do it.
Yeah, this is a big fight for him, man.
I don't know what's happening here. I'm hearing some rumblings that Mayweather and Al Heyman are having some problems. They're butting heads. So they're talking about, like, Mayweather was not too happy with something that was going on with the negotiation with getting the fight done with Dana White and making a fight return and all this stuff, so he's not too happy. But it's just word around the gossip area saying that they're not happy. That's why Floyd's been taking pictures with top-ranked fighters and saying, you know.
You can always tell when Floyd has an issue because, you know, it's like, here we go. Here we fucking go.
Yeah.
You know, that's
Yeah, Terrence Crawford is the best fighter in the world.
Right,
and,
right,
you know,
right.
It's like a slap it out and all this stuff here. And it's something going on there. So it's like when last time he had this problem, he did the exact same thing.
Yep.
He started hanging out with Don King, saying he's about to sign with Don to fight Manny Pacquiao. And everybody's like, what's going on with Floyd? Is he going to sign with Don? And he just basically played that situation just so he can, you know, Al can go ahead and get everything for him and get it done. So whenever there's a problem, we see this type of behavior from Floyd. So everybody's like, uh-oh, this isn't a good vibe. And then after this, you know, he had the, you know, Josie Harris, his baby's mother, his first love, mother of his 3 kids. She lose her life, you know, and we still don't understand that. You know, 40 years old, and she goes right in, you know, in front of her house. You know, she's found in a car. It's just bizarre. And he was out of the country, so he had to come back. You know, just for that. Then Roger, you know, the uncle, the mastermind of the offense. The offensive Floyd, you know, that's when Floyd became more offensive when he had Roger in there training with him. And
I mean, he was his professional trainer,
basically. No, 2-time world champion and the first Black Mamba.
Exactly.
No one knows this story. No one knows this story, and you're going to hear it right here, Chris. When Kobe decided to be the Black Mamba, when Kobe Bryant, he was like, the Black Mamba, and he was doing an interview, Roger Mayweather, he ain't no goddamn Black Mamba. I'm the motherfucking Black Mamba. There was only one Black Mamba, and that's me. I'm the real Black Mamba. He was like, how they going to take my name and give somebody else a Black Mamba? Ain't that a fiction? He was like, Kobe Bryant, I like Kobe Bryant, but he ain't no Black Mamba. I like Kobe Bryant. So, man, that was hot classic. And then Kobe was finna go meet Kobe. They was finna go meet Kobe, Floyd. And they was like, Roger want to meet Kobe. He was like, nah, Roger's not going.
Yeah, we're not gonna bring Roger there because he'll make him change his name.
And they were like, let's bring Roger. That was funny. Floyd was like, nah, we ain't taking Roger.
He knew better.
So
That's funny, man.
Yeah, that was hilarious. And then he had T-shirts made saying, and they were making these T-shirts for Roger, saying like, "I'm the real Black Mamba." He's got one of these shirts. I wish I gotta find a picture of him wearing it. Like, I'm the real Black Mamba. And that's why when I put it on my Instagram, I was like, man, we lost both Black Mambas in the same year.
I know, right? I mean, how freaking nuts is that, man? That is just 2020 has been a motherfucker, dude. Damn.
Yeah, it's been something. But yeah, I'm gonna miss Roger, man. It's his advice in the corner, and that's what people really don't know is how much Floyd really listened to Roger. He listened to Roger more than he did his father.
Oh yeah, he wouldn't even look at his dad a lot of times.
No. His father, you know, it was just button up head every time, even during the Pacquiao fight.
Oh my God, that was the worst. That was the worst one. It's like, dude, calm down, man. What are you doing? We're fighting here. We're good. It was one round. You know, calm down.
Yeah, and I'm like, he's acting like Floyd's down in the fight.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, he got hit. What do you think? You didn't think Pacquiao was going to land a punch on him? Like, come on, dude. Yeah, I remember that. He had to calm him down. Like, dude, the fight, we got plenty of rounds here, you know. I'm not hurt.
Yeah,
you know?
He's telling him, like, I'm like, everybody's like, somebody's like, man, Senior must have bet a knockout or something.
Yeah, right? Yeah, no kid, he's trying to amp him up.
Yeah. He was like, man,
He's
you
like,
ain't
you hear the
throwing a
crowd.
look all night.
Like,
everybody's like, oh, he just threw like 4 cooks that round. What is he talking about?
Right. When have we
Man,
gone
it was hilarious.
at a Floyd Mayweather fight? When have we gone off the crowd and said, all right, we got to adjust, you know? Like,
yeah, so, man,
well,
it's just
got
so
anything
many
else
great
that you
moments.
want to speak on, sir?
Nothing too much. So I'm going to leave it at that. You want to say hi?
Hi.
Yeah,
Hello.
Gavin wants to say hi.
Go Bears.
Okay, yeah, he's a Bears fan.
Okay, now we got a problem. Now I hear Bears. We got a problem now.
He's a Viking fan. Minnesota.
Oh.
They just gave away their team this year, so.
Well, yeah, they just lost to Von Diggs.
Yeah, they lost a lot more than Diggs. They're losing. It's like a fire sale over in Minnesota.
Okay. Let's calm down a little bit. It's only been 6 hours of free agency. Let's calm down.
Yeah. So man. Thanks again, man, for having me on.
Yeah. Thanks for spending time in this trying time, man. You take it easy.
All right. Take care, Chris.
All right, man. Later.
Bye.
All righty. So, there's 21 minutes left of the live stream. 21 minutes and 54, 53, 52, 646-381-4990 is the number to call. That's 646-381-4990. You can, I'm not going to go crazy deep tonight. You know what I mean? But I still got a couple other things that we'll cover. Definitely let Portland shut down the show as well. But, man, we talked about that Golovkin thing for a little bit, and yeah, it's kind of crazy. And this really came from like DAZN Central, because the Athletic is getting DAZN money. If you don't know, that's not alleged. That's a real thing. And hey, it's a sponsor, whatever. I'm not ripping them. I'm just being honest. They are getting money from DAZN, and so they had the story. They got the special. They got the story. They've verbally agreed on a financial term. And we talked about this, was it last week or the week before, when John Skipper, head of DAZN there, said, hey, I got a 3-fight deal for you. Fight Billy Joe. And now the reports came out a little bit further that they actually were trying to stage that in the UK, so therefore they could launch the UK, DAZN, because that's when it was going to go there in May on that fight. Either way, it was going to go there, but they wanted it live in the UK, which makes sense, no doubt about it, of course, because that's cheaper than a pay-per-view over there, and so why not do that? But they weren't able to secure that. Oh, you never know, actually. You know what I mean? It actually could end up there, maybe. The UK was one of the last countries over there that started to really close stuff down, from my recollection and talking to Eddie, not talking to Eddie Hearn, but seeing interviews with him, them saying that, they finally canceled stuff, you know what I mean? But so it was Billy Joe, then Golovkin, then Murata in Japan. And that they're saying that may have been in Japan, which that's kind of interesting. And I'm not sure how they 100% will pull that one off, only because it's not a financial thing, but Murata has TV contracts already. So would DAZN have to pay for the rights to, you know what I mean? It's a little funky there, but it would be a big thing, either for that television network that has the Murata deal, or for DAZN just to have that fight available in Japan, because he's a fairly big name there, obviously. When he's on TV, he does really big numbers. So, that was the deal. It was a 3-fight deal. It was within the structure of the 11-fight deal originally, but basically it was just more money. And so there was some incentive there. And, there's thoughts of that they may go right into it, right to September. Eddie Hearn and others have said that they will not go right into it. Both of them are going to have a fight previous, and then they'll go from there. And maybe it would be in November or later, and obviously a lot of this has to do with, what the hell's going on. There's a lot of what ifs, but it does sound like, this is Eddie Hearn recently on Sky Sports News. He said Billy Joe Saunders has a deal in place to fight Canelo. Will boxing return in June or July? We don't know. If it does, there's every chance BJ Saunders will fight Canelo. And the date, I think it's there's a chance, not there's a every chance. But the quote was a little wrong. Maybe he said it wrong. That would push back. You know what I mean? So that he would still fight Canelo. Saunders and Canelo would still fight, and then they push that back. If, in fact, that they have to do some maneuvering, obviously. So, so basically what he said was, I'm going to make, I need to make more money on it. That's basically what Canelo was saying. Hey, it's if you make it worth my while, yeah. But if you're gonna pay me $35-something million, to fight Joe Schmo, and I'm not saying he's fighting a bunch of Joe Schmoes, but I'll just say Rocky Fielding or whatever, or even Murata for that, to be honest with you, that it would be an enhanced thing, So he's basically saying, hey, you make it worth my money, then I'll do it. He said, here's a quote from Alvarez a while back. I said it before the fight. I'm going to repeat it. For me, that fight presents no challenge to me right now. Remember when he said that? We fought 2 times, 24 rounds. I beat him. So he represents no challenge. However, and here's what people, they all heard the quote, and that's how it works, right? The clickbait and all that. They all run saying, Canelo says it's no challenge. He don't want the fight. It's not a challenge. But then they'll say, oh, but this guy's a challenge, though, compared to, whoever he's going to fight next or whatever. Or Rocky Fielding was, that type of thing. But in that same article, he said, however, what he does represent is good business. So if they offer me something really good, maybe the third fight can happen. But for me, no, because he represents no challenge for me. So basically he's saying, you better up that money, because if I'm getting $35 million for this dude, why would I get $35 million for Golovkin when we all know it's a bigger deal? We all know he's got the leverage, because, obviously he's got leverage. There's just no, in between or something like that. It's, he's got the leverage clearly. There's just no way around it. And they've wanted that since they signed both those guys. They've wanted that fight, and it's a huge fight for them because it did over $1 million 2 times in a row, and it's going to do that at least way more. It should do that. It should do way more actually, because it's cheaper. So I don't know, man. It'll be interesting to see. But we talked about that whole TV. So that's that. I don't know if it's going to be in September, if it's going to be later. It does sound like that was the goal and the plan, and it seems like they have it verbally agreed upon. We'll see when all the, when some of this, I should say, dust clears. But the whole TV studio, as far as shooting it into the TV studio, when Aram started talking about that, he was talking about the Inoue and Casimura fight. Remember that was going to be, April 25th in Vegas, because the monster Inoue actually has a deal with MGM now. I think it's a 2-fight deal a year. He's got to fight in Vegas twice a year, which makes sense because they are trying to get the high rollers out there, and he's from Japan, so why not get the big guys over? And also, there is a lot of, Japanese, Asian folks that could get interested in him in general. Nonito Donaire did okay on the West Coast, you know. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a good move there. But basically, that April 25th thing, he said, you know, they may move it to a TV studio, and so it'd be all right there. You turn on the camera, you get it going, and like I said, I do think that there is a possibility for that. You know what I mean? I do actually think that there is a possibility whenever we get this thing, you know, done. I do think that. I really do. I think that they could actually they could do some damage. So we'll see. You know what I mean? We'll see. So, you know, I'm not sure, man. I really don't know. It's tough to say if that fight is actually happening or not, or if they're just talking or whatever. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's that. On that note, we will get into the Tyson Fury farmer wild boar meat story, which was funny then, and it's even funnier now in a sense. Probably not too funny for Tyson, but you know, it is what it is. I'm not putting any kind of, that's a legend story, but it may be enough to where, you know, the UKAD may have to reopen the investigation. You know, so we'll get into some of that. We'll get into a variety of stuff. Talking about that Tank and Leo Santa Cruz fight, they were measuring in on a June date, you know. I think it was June. I want to say it was June 6th or the 13th or the 13th or 20th at the Staples Center. But obviously that stuff's in flux, but that's what they were kind of targeting. You know what I mean? So as far as, DAZN. So, you know, a lot of people, you know, there's content on DAZN as far as archive fights, right? You know, with Golden Boy stuff, obviously. And, you know, if you feel like, well, I'll just watch old fights and that's going to get me by the next couple of months, that's cool, you know, keep it. But some people are going to, you know, they're like, why do I have this service? I'm going to cancel it. Just like ESPN Plus. Obviously, ESPN Plus has a lot more content on the documentary side and all that. Or even like canceling Showtime. You know, that's part of the reason why I would still carry Showtime, because there's a couple shows I like. There's several shows throughout the year that I like. There's some shows on right now that I like, and all in the documentaries. You know, HBO is the top tier when it comes to documentaries, no doubt. But Showtime, in the last chunk of years, has really stepped up their game, in my opinion. So my point in bringing this up is they do have like a hold or put your account on hold or freeze, and that way it can just, you don't have to cancel, go through the whole process. You could just go in there when it gets up and going again and put your account basically back online. And so you don't have to go through the new charges or whatever. You can keep your deal that you got. Because, you know, if you cancel, let's say you did the $100 deal. Well, if you cancel, you're not going to get it for $833. You'd have to do another $100 deal. You see what I'm saying? So they do, just so the boxing fans know out there, that's what some of these shows are going to be about, is informing some fans too. And I'll inform some more fans about, you know, that already have tickets that they're in flux, or, you know, some fights that got postponed, like I mentioned, but also got pushed to a different date already. We'll talk about. But they do have like a freeze hold option. Okay? So that is something to think about. It matters how you know, purchase it originally. Are you watching it on your phone? Are you projecting it to your TV? Are you using a Roku like me, and you have to go through your Roku account? Like there's a variety of different things, but just so the boxing fans know, you know, I'm still on the $9.99 original one, and I'm really interested to see, because I believe at the end of April, if I remember correctly, because last year they put that, remember they raised their price to $20 if you do month by month, and they said the people that already, like basically the hardcores of the hardcores that were there already, that kind of waded through their kind of really weak first quarter last year, they did hook us up by saying, you guys got your current deal for a year. You don't have to throw $100 at us right now. Then it'll drop to $833 or something like that a month if you win 100. So if you did the $100 deal, or if you like a little bit more of the $9.99, and like I said, that's going to burn out anyway. It'll be interesting to see what they do with folks if they make. Like, are they going to make me put $100 down for $833 a month up front right now if they don't have content till June? Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure. They haven't announced anything like that. There has been some folks that have tried to cancel and the website's messed up, and then it's back up and it's okay. And I know some of these apps are tough to cancel. Like, it sounds funny, but some of them are like you have to Google stuff. We've mentioned it a couple of times with 310. Mark, he said it too. My nephew, who's a big boxing fan, he canceled the zone. He's like, dude, that shit was tough. Like, that was, and it was on his, my other nephew, his brother, on his card. So he's like, I can't have another $10 charge on this one right now. That type of thing. Cause he's a kid. He's a little kid. But not a little kid, I should say that. But you know what I'm saying. Anyways, so DAZN customers, there is a hole. There is a freeze option, and I would definitely do that instead of canceling and have to throw down another 100 or be subjected to $20 a month rather than your $9.99 if that's what you have. But there's no point in putting another 100 down if you've already done 100 for a year. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, use that. Okay. The biggest one as far as schedule goes for fights that have already pushed back. They already pushed back. Some fights. They already pushed back. Well, they've canceled and postponed plenty. But you know what I'm saying? Like the Daniel Dubois and Joe Joyce, which I always have problems saying quickly. For some odd reason, the Joe Joyce, that one already got pushed back. They already proactively said, nope, we're pushing it back. Because it was coming up, obviously. And so right now on ESPN Plus here in the States, which is dope, Joe Joyce and Daniel Dubois, that's who's on that card. I mean, there's more on the card, but that's July 11th. So July 11th, we know they pushed. That's going to be pay-per-view. And obviously the Fury Wilder is still set right now for July 18th. Who knows? Even a local April 11th, locally in Minneapolis, they obviously postponed that. Really, right now on the schedule, you see an ESPN Plus Northern Ireland Belfast card, Terry Flanagan. You still see that on the schedule. The Dillian White Povetkin, you still see that on the schedule. It's still there. And that's obviously in the UK, and they've done their closings and all that a lot different. They actually stayed open a lot longer than a lot of countries. So who knows? Some of it is a very dense population, so that might be an issue. I really don't know, but I do like that co-feature, Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano. Sign me up for that. So that's one that odds are it's good. It's going to get pushed back, obviously. You know what I mean? But as of right now, they haven't moved it like that other fight to July. So folks that have tickets, stand tight. With all these fights, stand tight. There will be information. I'll be talking about it throughout this couple of weeks, couple of months, to make sure that the folks that, already got their tickets, already got their, airline tickets, anything that you're buying right now. I know there is this airline ticket I see on Twitter, especially boxing Twitter, of like, this is the time to buy flights. It's like, yeah, it is because of the prices. I get what you're saying. Like, I could go to Vegas or someplace right now for super cheap. I get what you're saying, but make sure you buy the insurance. It's already super cheap, right? It's cheaper than it would have been, I should say. So buy the insurance on that. I mean, you got folks here that are in their teens and 20s still going on spring break. Miami just finally now shut down. Clearwater Beach, St. Peter. Like, there's a lot of beaches in southern Florida and Florida in general where it's popping off like it's spring break. I mean, not like it is spring break, but oh my gosh, like I don't even want to get into that. But well, I guess I did. But my point is, just delay the freaking trip. If you have to for work, I get it. But those airplanes, dude, they're just, they don't have a lot of ventilation. So I'll leave it at that. Okay, there's a lot of germs, the virus just thrives there. I know that they're gonna freaking, I mean, they can sit there and hose it down all they want with chemicals, but once people start boarding the plane, that goes away. So if you are some of these boxing fans and people in general, and I get it, dude. The tickets are already expensive. Why not get a good deal? I mean, the Vegas and all these fights are going to be cheaper to hotel and cheaper to fly. But remember to get the freaking insurance, because there's a good chance some of these fights are not going to happen, even the ones they've already pushed back. You just don't know. Why sit there and lose more money if you don't have to, right? And recently, not even that long ago, it's kind of crazy. There's 90 seconds left, by the way, of the live stream. 646-381-4990 is the number to call. I see some folks jump in and what's going on. 646-381-4990. You can listen to the rest of the show on your phone. If you got stuff to do, you're listening to it, in the browser or whatever. It's going to cut off. It's going to cut you off. But you probably already know that. But just for the folks that are just popping into this randomly. That Jose Ramirez and Victor Postol fight, Fresno, which I'm really excited about that fight. I actually like the Pedraza Molina co-feature, too. That's supposed to be on ESPN and ESPN Deportes May 9th, right? And obviously they're not going to have a problem like selling tickets late there. You know what I mean? If in fact it's okay to go, That's man, it's likely to get postponed. And could you imagine, that thing was supposed to be in February in China, and they postponed it for the coronavirus, and now it's the second time it's been postponed. So that thing is just, it's a rough one for that fight. But it's a rough one for everyone. And like I said, when I'm speaking vaguely about, this could happen, that could happen, and ticket prices and all that type of stuff, I'm not trying to forget about the people that don't have the money at the end of the month. This is just this is just, talking about stuff that's out there. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to minimize what's going on out there. I do want to emphasize that. I'm not minimizing the folks that are going to have problems paying the rent at the end of the month, okay? I'm definitely not. I'm just being honest, and there are some people that aren't going to be that. So, I feel for those folks, no doubt about it, man. The fight that was actually going to be this weekend, wasn't it? Yeah, was it this weekend? Dorticos and Breedis, they pushed that back to May 16th. That might be, that they probably didn't push that back far enough, but that was like probably the next date they could do it. So I wouldn't doubt if that gets pushed back. Of course, some of these May fights aren't canceled. The Canelo and BJ Saunders fight, that was never officially announced. Like tickets and all that stuff, that was never announced. So if those are wondering, people are like, oh, it went off the schedule. It wasn't on the schedule technically. They had it done, but they're also doing a deal, trying to figure out the Golovkin thing as well, and trying to figure out his fight after that 3-fight deal, or maybe they focused in on just these 2 fights. You know what I mean? So that is signed for those folks that are still like, what's going on? Billy Joe Saunders is in baggage right now, still trying to train and stay in shape. So the fight's signed. Obviously, we just don't know what's going on. So, will they be able to do the May 23rd DAZN Usyk Chisora? Usyk's been out for a while with injury and all sorts of stuff. So, not all sorts of stuff, but he had a fight, then he didn't, then he did. He's only fought Witherspoon. He's trying to get, a fight that's a good tester for him, which I think that is, but it is a little tough there. Will they have to push back to June 20th in London? I mean, these aren't just events, what we're talking about, especially this one. I mean, what is that, like 70,000 it sits that? 75,000, something like that? It sits a lot of folks. Like, when is that going to be able to happen again where you get, 50 or 60 or 80,000 people in a stadium? That I would assume that's going to be pushed back, but you never know. So, that's about it because, there's not much. I mean, Boxeo Telemundo has all their dates, scheduled. They have the date of when they're going to do it, but they don't have any fights with that when you get into the summer, June, July, August, you know what I mean? So it is what it is, man. That's kind of the schedule right now. Like I said, you got to just, keep updated. And if you're gonna, take advantage of the prices for these airlines for fights that are 3, 4, 5 months out or whatever, maybe not that long, but you know what I mean. Just buy the insurance. I can't stress that enough. Just buy the insurance because you just don't want to get double screwed. You may be already moving it. Just buy the insurance. And like I said, anyone that just jumped in the last little bit that we're just listening to this last little bit, if you're going to cancel your DAZN, they have a hold or freeze option. That way, let's say you paid the $100 already and you're getting $833 a month. Well, don't pay another $100. What's the point of that? You might as well just put that shit on freeze, put it on hold. Let's talk a little bit about this Tyson Fury, okay? We've covered this Fury, and I really think this Wilder Fury could maybe do more than the first pay-per-view, just based off the conspiracy theories, dude. This is crazy. Like the amount of chatter, and remember, this hasn't hit a lot of the mainstream media. It's all been online. I shouldn't say all, but most of it's been online. So that ESPN and Fox are going to touch upon all these topics once we get to fight week, just for speculation, just to add intrigue, that type of thing. You know what I mean? But there was a report, and remember, the Daily Mail, and there's a couple other, there's plenty of news sources that suck. So UK fans, I'm not trying to rip just this outlet. There's so many outlets that suck, okay? No matter what political side you're on or whatever, there's so many media outlets that are just chasing headlines. And this might be that, okay? This might be that. I really don't have a clue. What makes it a story, we had the Glovegate, and I understand some of the Glovegate off that first fight, his left, hand. We've already gone over that. I refuse to go over that again. So I get some of that because when you look at it, you're like, what the hell? What's going on? You know what I mean? It does look funky, right? As we know. But beyond all that, this one, I'm not saying, now this is allegedly, let's just get that out of the way. It's allegedly. But this one's a little strange. A lot of people, there's a lot of random news out there because people, they already needed clickbait, but people really need stuff to talk about because, like I said, there's no breaking news on not many, but new fights, you know what I mean? Or fight week press conferences and stuff like that, interviews with people as much. There's just not as many. So anyway, the Daily Mail, Here's the headline. Tyson Fury boxing future in doubt after shock claim that a member of his team offered a farmer 25,000 pounds to lie, in capital letters, L-I-E, lie, about providing wild boar meat to cover up a failed drug test in 2015. Like I mentioned, we're talking about some stuff. It's not that I 100% believe this farmer or something like that. It's not that. But the reason why this is something I'm going to give a little detail on rather than just kind of cover it and move on is because it has something to do with his doping charge in 2016. I mean, this is the excuse he did use, and it got him a lighter sentence. So that's why we're covering it, okay? Just because I'm covering it doesn't mean I'm fueling the beast, so to speak, right? But it is worth to give more detail because, like I said, I mean, he said it was the wild boar that the stuff was in. He tested positive for a substance, and he said it was the wild boar. So that's why we're actually giving any of this real credence. But I can't sit there. Like I said, it's alleged, okay? It's alleged. So basically, in February 2015, in November 2015, I think it was November 23rd, if I remember correctly. I can't remember, November 25th, or I think it was Thanksgiving weekend, something like that, here in the States. But that's when, Fury beat Klitschko, right? At the end of the year, basically, or close to it. But this whole situation, well, first of all, UKAD, I mean, they're ridiculous, dude. They're ridiculous. And you threaten to sue them with some real money, and stuff gets moved on. I mean, that's just true. That's just true. So the UKAD thing with the B sample, they never released the B sample. They just told us that it was a minor, there wasn't enough in there. It was a micro dose, right? I'm not saying he micro dose, but he's saying trace amounts. That's the word I was looking for. I'm up here saying he micro dose. No, but which obviously exists. And they never gave us the actual statistics about the dose. They never released that information to the public. They were happy enough to be like, well, we know what the levels are, and we're okay with it. So he proved us that, and we went through the process, and we don't have to make the B sample actually the numbers public. And they did it. People say, well, they said the B sample was fine. Well, they said it. Okay, then if it is, then release it. We release it over here. We know all the numbers. And when you get the numbers, I'm not a scientist. A lot of people think they're scientists right about now with this virus, right? But we can use it for measurements and compare it and contrast with other B samples. That's all you need to release it for. I mean, if it's legit, then it's legit, isn't it? So release it, But the reason why I'm bringing up this UKAD thing is because the shit came so late. Like, the shit came super late. I mean, just like it reads here. Today in this Martin Carefoot, that's who Carefoot is, the guy, the farmer, is sensationally retracting evidence that formed part of Fury's defense against a 2016 doping charge. The key word there is 2016. So when I remember hearing about this, a while back, 2016, and going, so when the hell was this test? What? Hold on. So you knew there was a failed test back in February 2015? And he fought, because didn't he fight Christian Hammer? Or was that before or after? I can't remember. I think it was before, or right around that time. And then months later, then he fought Klitschko. Like, how would you be able to enter the ring at that point? Like, how long did your test take? It's so vague, and I mean, that's what's crazy about this, you know what I mean? So they did him and Huey, Tyson and Huey. This is fact. This is alleged. they did test for a banned substance. What was it? Nandrolone? I think it was Nandrolone, something like that. I can't remember what the hell it was. But so the banned substance was blamed on eating, and this is a crucial fact here, uncastrated, that's a big deal, wild boar that can, is contaminated with that substance, which is true, just like we talk about the banned substance for, some of the ranchers in Mexico use it on their cattle, and that's the Canelo and many others, not just Canelo, by the way. And when NFL teams would go there to play in Mexico City, they would tell them, hey, just so you know, don't be eating the meat because the shit's in there. You'll pop on a drug test, So they actually, I'm pretty sure they brought their own food for the players. They were just like, when you're out and about, They received what were considered a lenient, backdated ban of 2 years before resuming his career in 2017 December. What? No, that's not right. I think that's when it got cleared. So, and this is just the back end of this article here. So basically, while the cousins insist, and the cousins, Fury and both Furies, that the investigation that they never, intentionally tried to cheat, they face these new claims from this dude who alleges that basically someone was going to give him a fair amount of money to produce the wild boar and basically give him a story. And that's how it is. So a statement from the UKAD to the Mail on Sunday read, "We will always review any potential evidence in relation to any anti-doping offense and take investigatory action necessary. If anyone has information that could be of interest to UKAD and its investigators of any matter, we urge them to contact us." Right? And, it basically was like a time served situation. He went away for a long time. People kind of forget that he tested for a steroid. They just remember the cocaine test. Well, the cocaine test is what got the whole thing canceled, the rematch with Klitschko. That's really what got it canceled. So he tested positive for cocaine. Then he, wasn't there a test where he wouldn't take it, then he maybe did? That's alleged. I don't remember that. But I remember, didn't he deny the test for a little bit? And that's probably why, because the cocaine. Although I believe drugs like cocaine get in and out of your system pretty quick, but obviously not quick enough. But it basically was like time served, because they weren't even charged until 16 months later. Yeah, it was the month against, Christian Hammer. And weren't charged till 16 months later. And that was November 2015, like I mentioned. So, they went through this thing, and basically in 2017, Careful completed 2 signed witness statements to say he provided wild boar to the Furies, which was passed on to the boxers' lawyers. The second included the line that read, "I supplied a range of animal meats and something to Team Fury, including wild boar and pigs." Carefoot now claims those statements are in the possession of the Mail on Sunday were lies. I have never kept wild boar. I never killed a wild boar. And he said he just went along with it for the 25,000 pounds, and they dangled that carrot that would have gotten them paid. When things got serious, they offered me a sum, blah, 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 and I went along with it, and, I was supposed to get my money, basically, and they didn't give it to me. So that's why all of a sudden now he's saying, hey, what the hell? Which is like, okay, interesting. What's all that about? And basically the official decision documents list that Fury's defense on the basis that they came from ingestion of the uncastrated wild boar pig, or and alternatively from the containment supplement. So UKAD spent close to 600,000 pounds on this investigation, and it was kind of vague how this whole thing came up, and then it was almost like Tyson was just kind of waiting out the time frame. Then he had to go through all the hearings, and then the hearing, there was someone on the board that it didn't work out, so they had to change it. I remember it was just a mess when it comes, from his point of view anyway. But Frank Warren's come out and said, well, back then I wasn't promoting Tyson, but these allegations are totally unfounded. You're dealing with a man who is an admitted liar. Did Tyson ever have a conversation with the man? Which supposedly the man, had a conversation with him. Did he lie back then, or is he lying now? This is a man who's willing to commit perjury. He said that he actually did call him. Like, this guy tried to call him. So, which was like, what? He tried to call you? Yeah, he tried to call. Actually, let me see if I got the other quotes here from, where the hell are they? From Frank Warren. This guy says, I feel fed up with the lies and deceit. Public needs to know the truth. I'm happy the public knows now all about it. I feel cheated and used, and yada, yada, yada. They got pictures of the wild boar, which is intense. What did he say? Frank Warren was basically talking about that he called him. This guy literally tried to call him, and he's like, "What? What are you talking about?" Like, nah, dude, go to UKAD with that. Don't talk to me. Here we go. Frank Warren. So they were in a mess and they were panicking. They came to me and said that they had. Oh, this is more of his quote. Sorry. That they had to just have a simple letter to say I supplied a wild boar. It'll get him off the hook. Okay, then I'll do it. I knew the bloke very well. He's done a few favors for me, blah, 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 right? Where is the Frank Warren quotes? Basically, Frank is saying that, the guy actually contacted him, and he sent him UKAD's way. He was looking for some money then. So, I don't know what to make of it. I'm not going to act like I know. I'm just covering it because it is legitimate to cover because, after all, like we said, that this is the reason why he got a 2-year ban instead of maybe a 4-year ban, which we've actually seen in the UK side of things with UKAD. He basically was like, nah, dude, this is, this guy called me, and then now instead of going to UKAD, he went the opposite way. He actually went to the, to the news, to the media. And so that's kind of weird. Like, why the hell would you do that? You know what I mean? Now, Suleiman, Mauricio Suleiman from the WBC, personally, this is a quote from him, from The Sun, personally, I would prefer to believe Tyson Fury ahead of someone who has already admitted to lying in legal documents for personal gain. Which I understand that, but you do have to keep it open, You can't just make your decision. But yeah, here's the quote. When I called him, he asked me for money. Oh yeah, so he reached out to him, the farmer, October. He sent him to a letter. That's what it was. It was a letter. He sent a letter to him. This guy, Martin Carefoot, sent a letter to Team Fury, basically to the promoter who works, he said the farmer made these outrageous allegations. He sent me a letter in October full of errors and basically telling me he committed perjury by signing statements under oath and lying. When I called him, he asked for money. I told him to clear off and get in contact with UKAD. I keep saying UKAD. UKAD. He chose not to speak to him, and did that instead. So, Are they going to open up, a brand new investigation? We don't know. But, it's like I said, I think it's worth spending some time on because of it did get him 2 years left. He wouldn't have been able to make the money he made in these last chunk of fights if he didn't get off of that. You know what I mean? Pause. So, you know what I mean? I don't know. We'll find out. Well, we may not find out. It's UKAD. What are they going to do? But, yeah, we'll see. I mean, how can this guy, can he prove that he's never had wild boars? Because you'd assume if he's a farmer, then he would have, did he have pigs and not a wild boar? Has he, as a farmer, sold pork? And what kind of pork? What, you know what I mean? There's got to be some sort of documentation of this guy if he's got a farm and he lives off the money that his farm is providing, right? I don't know. They say he's a farmer, so it's not like he's like got a 9 to 5 and then he farms on the side. Maybe he does, but they call him a farmer. So yeah, I don't know. And there was a bunch of random stuff coming out about Eddie Hearn and Tyson Fury having talks and everybody having talks, and Saudi has this big thing going on. They want the Joshua AJ fight, and then there was like hold on. Like, we got a fight contract signed, and they announced the July 18th date on some quick shit, right? Then there was, like, from WorldBoxingNews.net, which can be shaky, obviously. There was this report that Tyson Fury was going to fight this cruiserweight in Australia out of nowhere, So it was kind of like, wait, what? Are they putting up some kind of weird money, and that's why they do it? So there was a bunch of reports. You know what I mean? So they finally decided to just put out a press release, and they just said, "Hey, here's the deal. We got anything to do with Tyson Fury. It's Top Rank, it's MTK Global, and Frank Warren, which is, Queensberry's promotions. They're basically like, hey, anytime if you hear this, due to the publications of a number of misleading and misrepresentative statements in articles made by third parties relating to Tyson Fury, the following statement is made jointly with Queensberry, Top Rank, and MTK Global. Tyson Fury is globally recognized as the number one, the current heavyweight. Yeah. As things stand, Tyson is contracted to a third fight with Wilder. Any statement made regarding negotiations, talks, venues, or any other thing, just disregard it, basically. They're basically saying we work close in conjunction of all three of us when it comes to, Tyson Fury. Then he went on about, we're giving him the best opportunities to enhance his career and earnings. This will require each party, as well as Tyson Fury himself, to continue to work together as a team, explore and negotiate. So the collaboration thus far has seen, Fury enter one of the most lucrative contracts, and all that, reclaiming the division. On a possible fight in the Middle East, which may or may not involve Joshua, which I assume it would, right? The trio backers, refused to rule out anything. Many options have presented themselves in the Middle East for such bouts. Any meeting regarding the subject will be held in Dubai with all the necessary parties. So basically, we're not going through you, Eddie. It's kind of like Wilder's team not going through Eddie and trying to get on Matchroom. It was, I'm going to go take a meeting with Skipper in DAZN. You know what I mean? Even though Matchroom DAZN is obviously part of this, DAZN USA. Obviously, they own part of it. So, any updates regarding future fights will only be through official channels, and we will continue to deliver boxing fans the biggest and best, blah, blah, blah. So, interesting press release because it's like, well, if you guys know that, why would you have to all get on board to say that? And that maybe that's because Eddie and Frank Warren are always beefing, obviously, and like verbally all the time, right? And Frank was basically like, dude, what are you talking about? We're not even talking. And then Eddie would come back like, dude, I talked to MTK yesterday. We're talking to them, So all this stuff basically just sounds like they want to sit all down with Tyson, and then if there's anything going on with Dubai, but obviously you're not going to fly to Dubai at this given moment, right? So, I mean, I'm not saying it's not possible. You get some money, which these guys have, you can do a lot of stuff, right? But I don't know. Could this be something we'll hear more about? Eddie Hearn was talking about, others talked about it, speculated. Maybe he now, knowing that Saudi wants to put up this money, knowing what kind of money DAZN wants to put up, whatever. And obviously, the Joshua fight and Fury fight is not that easy to make. You'd think it'd be. Sure, money, yeah, that's great. But he signed to ESPN. And on a fight-by-fight basis, Anthony Joshua signed with DAZN. So the most money is probably either in Saudi Arabia or in the States. Because Saudi Arabia, that would be the big, licensing fee that you land. You get that big, big, big check. But also here, DAZN and the MGM, they would be putting out that big check. And this fight wouldn't even happen till December. It probably wouldn't even happen till 2021. You wouldn't even that's the earliest any of this got talked about anyway. There'd be some tampering. There could be some tampering with Fury. Fury could be looking at that money and going, well, dude, I like this money I'm getting. But if the DAZN's willing to put up that kind of cachet, or Saudi is willing to pay, put up that kind of money, what's he going to go AWOL or something? So you just never know. And with Tyson, you never know. There's a lot of things I love about the guy. There's some things that I don't like about the guy that's come out of his mouth. Now, he's also said once he got a little bit more sober and got his life going in the right direction, he's also come out and said he said some dumb stuff that he apologizes for. So it is what it is. But as we know, you never know with Tyson. You just never know with Fury. So, unfortunately, I'm not trying to rip the guy. I'm glad that he got out of the downward spiral that his life went on. I'm really glad. I mean, I want him to fight for a few more years being greedy. And also I think it keeps him on. Like, just going to the gym, that's one thing. But if you're in good terms health-wise, why not stay in the sport of boxing? You can make that much more money. And you say it yourself, you're going to train for the rest of your life anyway. Well, maybe you won't be ready to lose the fight night and all that. You know what I mean? That I'm not saying he's an attention whore, but we all hear athletes, no matter what sport it is, it takes them a while to adjust. And for a guy that, had such a downward spiral, maybe staying in the sport helps. You know what I mean? So he says a lot. So you just never know which one it is. He's talking about a couple fights and I'm retiring. But also, this is money he had never seen before. So it's easy to say that, but all of a sudden new stardom, it can make you hungry for it, or hungrier in general. It can also make you distracted. I mean, even this, not having a fight, like, wonder if the July fight gets postponed. That would be a distraction. That would be something that a goal that's just a couple months away would be gone. He even says on Sundays when he doesn't train, he gets depressed. So I don't know. Where there's smoke, there's fire. I'm not saying there's a ton of smoke here, but it is kind of weird that all three of them had to get on the same page. Was there something from one of these entities? Was it his management? I have no clue. But was somebody talking to somebody and they said, no, we all got to talk on the same page? So it's a kind of weird. Maybe there was, stopping stories from being released. Maybe they didn't want information out. Hey, if it doesn't come from us, don't believe it, because maybe some of this stuff was true. I don't know. The Australia one kind of threw me off, but then maybe they're going to use this Australia bid for more. I have no clue. You know what I mean? But it was kind of random that came up. Like, why don't you just go on camera and say all these stories are bullshit? You had to send out a message. It's just kind of weird. So I don't know. I mean, obviously, I want to see, like I respect Wilder for having his, for wanting the rematch. He took his first loss. He has every right to take it. Of course, I'm a boxing fan. I want to see Fury and Joshua, of course, I'm just not sold that it's super easy to make off of pay-per-view in the U.S. I'm not sold that that's easy to make. And if you're going to pay Fury, well, you're going to have to probably pay Fury even more now, because Bob's going to need to get a cut. Remember during the fight week, Bob, when he was projecting 2 million sales, said, you're just projecting, well, they could make 30 or 40 or 50 million if it hit 2 million, right? But remember, he did that little breakdown of money, 70-30 and all that. So my point is, if Saudi buys it, then they control a lot of that, in a sense, right? The money is like a lump sum. So just like the zone on a very, minor, compared to that fight on a lower scale, just think of the Ramirez Hooker fight, right? Ramirez was on ESPN, and he went to the zone. I think he got $4 million. Well, I'm pretty sure Bob got money too, or maybe it wasn't going to be $4 million. They upped it because Bob had to get paid 2 more. If you're not going to get in on a back-end pay-per-view revenue or a site revenue, like a gate revenue, I should say, and it's just going to be a big lump sum of $60 or $80 million, well, that's got to be split up to the fighter and the promoter. So the promoter needs to make his money, though, and the money he was willing to, risk on Fury, it needed some certain, pay-per-view levels with Wilder had to be hit, and so I don't know. Maybe he's thinking, shit, like after this Wilder fight, if I can't get the Joshua on pay-per-view and I'm looking at the guarantees I owe Fury, maybe this is a better deal, So it's not just throw money at someone and it's over. They're going to throw money, but it's going to have to be figured out because it's a fight by fight, not by fight. Joshua's on a fight by fight with the zone, but meaning it's going to take money for him too, a lot of money, right? And he's going to base it off of what he just got for Ruiz. So you mean to tell me you're going to pay the same shit for what I just got for Ruiz? No, obviously not. He would, because that Fury fight's a way bigger fight. So who knows, man? Who knows? It was just kind of weird that they all jointly put out a press release. It's just kind of like, really? Huh. Okay. It seems like, why would you need to say that if you knew that was the case? Just come on, I don't know. It just seems like you could do an interview and people would write articles about it and you get the same thing, I don't know. Kind of weird. And this was before, press release was before a lot of the lockdowns, you know what I mean? So we'll see, man. We'll see. I did, there's a variety of news out there, dude. And some of it is meaningful, some of it's not. A lot of it's obviously not. A couple of, like, boxing-wise, it's Olympic-wise, that's going to be tough. Like the qualifier, the final chance we're qualifying could be under threat. And actually, this literally by Ron Lewis on Boxing Scene right now. Those guys, the Olympics are maybe on hold. You know what I mean? Who really knows? But we also talked about UKAD, or we talked about UKAD, but another layer to UKAD is they're not going to be able to test as much over there now. Now, VADA, this is from Jake Donovan, VADA clarifies current stance in testing in the wake of global health crisis. At a time when medical testing is more important than ever, drug testing sports have been forced to take a different approach. There remain a number of bouts still technically scheduled, which contractually bound to random testing through, VADA, Voluntary Anti-Doping Agency. However, the manner in which citizens are permitted to move around in everyday life continues to change with the news cycle, right? From this virus. So VADA's mission has always been to protect fighter safety while promoting fair, clean sport, free of illegal performance-enhancing drugs. This comes from Dr. Margaret Goodman over there, the founder and head of VADA. The situation is changing almost hourly. So, it's impossible to know the conditions, of the circumstances, right? So, let me see. I'm literally reading this for the first time. Dillian White and Povetkin obviously are subject to testing. Same with the Katie Taylor and Serrano. There's still testing because the fight's still on. But other, bouts have been canceled after, the update from the CDC, the Center for Disease Control Prevention. VADA is following and will continue to follow the advice of local and international healthcare professionals to ensure that any testing might conduct is consistent with the need to protect our athletes and doping control officers during uncertain times. However, we can't ignore the inherent risk facing training, competition that increase with the PED use. So a lot of people on boxing Twitter are like, hey, it's a free-for-all. This is when you're going to do all your PEDs, right? Which I understand what they're saying, but how much training can you actually get in, like full-on camp training? You know what I mean? I don't know. It really matters on that. I think that'll do it for my portion of the show. 5:03, right about now would be a good time to get to your spot so you can shut down the show per usual, if you can anyway. That best Putin, while he's getting figured out, you can text me if you're ready or whatever. Excuse me. Oh boy. That cough. Like, I was in the line at the grocery store and I'm just having to just swallow a cough. Everybody's going to look at you funny if you cough, you know what I mean? But best Putin, the opening of the B sample is delayed due to this virus thing. So best Putin has been waiting on that B sample because him and Ugas were going to fight, which I really liked that fight. But he tested positive for a PED. So the B sample is delayed. So that whole thing is delayed. If this thing gets better enough to do fights in June or July, I wouldn't doubt if they just go right to Spence and Ugas to get that mandatory stuff out of the way potentially. I really don't know exactly what they're going to do. But just to reiterate, there's a second report I'm looking on Boxing Scene right now, too, that Canelo and Golovkin agree to a third fight after the interim bouts. So, yeah. And like I said, rest in peace to Roger Mayweather. He passed away at age 58. We know he had some health issues. The Black Mamba, Roger Mayweather, 2-weight division champ, fought Chavez, twice? AKA the Mexican Assassin, because a lot of Mexicans did like his fight style and they kind of were a fan of his until he'd go against, Chavez or one of the big, Mexican, other, popular Mexican fighters. So the Black Mamba, the original Black Mamba, RIP. And we'll always, the line that you don't know shit about boxing is just going to be forever on boxing Twitter in general. But he, you can look at him as a trainer, obviously, but I'd prefer to look at him as a boxer. You know what I mean? The guy's very accomplished as a boxer, all action. Like Garcino said earlier, he's the one who opened up the offense of Floyd Mayweather. He was basically his pro trainer, let's be honest. He's ready to get in the ring if he has to in that Zab Judah fight when something's going on with his nephew. The boxing history, I always loved watching him look at that. He had that big old tag board, basically, of a bunch of different pictures. And he'd say, he'd be able to talk boxing history left and right. And he'd always be like, the best boxers in the world either trained or came from the Midwest, especially Michigan. So RIP, as well as Josie Harris, too. RIP to her as well. It's been a tough one for Floyd that way. That's for sure. He may be just okay financially and not really worrying about the stuff that other people are worrying about. But obviously 2 deaths in a very short amount of time, so rest in peace. Like I said, I prefer to look at Roger Mayweather as a fighter, not just a trainer. I know he's a famous trainer because he's Mayweather, and, he had some other fighters and all that, but he was a hell of a fighter himself. All action dude. Do yourself a favor, man. If you haven't, just go to YouTube and watch his fights. But also, if you haven't seen long segments of him talking, you should. It's entertaining. It's also, it's fun to watch him break down history and tell everybody that they don't know shit about boxing. And he's right. I mean, a lot of people are just casual, and that's okay. All right, I'm going to go ahead and bring in Portland 503 to shut this thing down. Portland, man, how the heck are you, dude? How you doing up there in the Northwest, man? I know Seattle and I know Washington is a heavy hit place. From the jump, it's right there with New York and LA and even Boston, even though it may not be as big as LA and New York, but obviously the nursing home and all that stuff just up in that area. I know, you're in. How are things going locally wise for you, man? What's going on up there?
Yo, what up? What up, man? Yo, Chris. Yeah, man. Like everybody, man. This fear is out. This virus is out. Coronavirus. It's affected everything. Every other place, man. I do feel bad for all these. Like you were explaining earlier, Chris, man. You're talking about you're in the. I believe you're in the bar scene. Customer service. Work. And, I do feel really bad because that they did shut down a lot of those kind of businesses here too. From what I know, they shut down events like everywhere else. The NBA is obviously, canceled for a while and all that shit. But as far as, schools, man, schools are out too. From what I know, they're out till the April 28th. Everybody's taking higher precautions here, man. Right. Not only that, but grocery stores, there's these grocery store chains here that are 24 hours. Well, they were 24 hours before last week, but now they've fucking made them all closed by midnight, and then so their reasoning is to the workers, the midnight workers, have time to stock up, and then so they could open up in the morning. But all that shit. So a lot of shit has changed here too. Luckily, in my field of work, it hasn't affected me. I'm still grinding to my 9-to-5 job. I'm still, doing my thing here, and luckily, man, I'm really, in all honesty too, man, I'm fucking really thankful for that. And but man, it's you know what I mean. But you could see it here too where I work, man. I mean, fuck, man, they made it's insane, with all this whole thing, everybody, you could just tell, there's all this tension, like there's this scare in the air. Everybody's too scared to touch doorknobs. Everybody's too scared to talk to each other. You know what I mean? Everybody's too scared to fucking go to stores and all that shit, live your life and everything. But I don't know, man. You can just tell, man. You can just tell that fear.
Thing, you know, you gotta stay 6 feet.
Yeah. Yeah, you could tell, man. But luckily here at my work, man, everything seems to be going. So I'm very thankful for that. And but we'll see what comes in this following week. Everybody hang on there, man. I mean, it is a scary time. Like me, you, Chris, how many times I've been telling you, man, we're living in some scary times, and obviously it's gone to this point. But dude, to me, Chris, you know me, brother. You've known me bring up Alex Jones before. I'm a conspiracy theorist.
Yeah, let's not bring any Alex Jones up. I'm sorry. You can have your own opinions, but I'm not bringing him up on my podcast. I'm very sorry. Have your own opinions, but don't bring him up, please.
It's all good. Yeah, but you know me, man. I keep my ear to the ground. I have a lot of thoughts about this. It is what it is, man. But I'm just gonna go, and I'm just gonna, just like everybody else, keep a distance, and all that shit too. I'm not as scared about it as much. To me, I don't know, man. I really don't know what to think. It just seems more to me like the fear is out there. Like there's a scare, and everybody's scared of this invincible thing. Well, obviously it's not invincible, right? It's a sickness or it's a disease or whatever, virus.
Right.
But I got my own little conspiracy theories about it, man. I don't want to run the show about it. But keep your ear to the ground.
That's for sure. Yeah, and also. It's not a scare like people are in the streets killing each other and, we're in this moment, this second Armageddon, like, this riots going on and stuff like that. But you're right as far as the tension. There is a new tension, and I really think it started a wake-up call with when that NBA player got it and they canceled. Because then people were like, okay, now wait a second, what? And all of a sudden everybody wanted to all of a sudden educate themselves. Like, hold on, what's going on? And I was just washing my hands a little more. Now I'm really going to worry about this stuff or whatever, So, yeah, there is that tension out there walking around. I wouldn't really say it's not, because like I said, the streets aren't burning. We're not. The food is going to be there. People got to realize that. Quit hoarding. The food is going to be there. Okay? The food's going to be there. Okay? So just calm down. Toilet paper. You're not going to shit for, the next fucking 3 years. There's going to be new toilet paper. So stop hoarding food. It's there. Like even in the worst place in Italy, right? That's what we know as far as, beyond China, right? They have the stores open there, guys. The stores are open. The banks are open. Like, you got to let's keep this all in perspective and take a couple of breaths. It's just worse than the flu. It doesn't mean we're all going to die. It just means we're taking a precaution just in case, And remember here in the States, we're set up differently than Europe. We're set up differently than Italy. Now, New York, L.A., Boston, some of these cities, San Francisco, some of these cities that are built on top of each other, that's going to be more like Italy potentially. But, this is a big land space is what my point. And so everybody, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what our numbers are going to be. But why not try to kick this thing in overdrive and be safe without being as scared of it? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely, take precaution. Try to avoid doorknobs and all that shit too. But, it's just weird, just a really weird time right now, what this country's going, what the whole world's going through, man. I mean, we all saw the beginnings of it when it started off in China and Wuhan, and then, from all the reports up to now. And, it sucks, man. It sucks because it's just like, everything is at a halt. Like everything's at a pause in life. Everything just, it seems weird. Like it's just, you know what I mean? That's the part where I don't like.
Yeah, the unknowns where you just don't, okay, we know by the end of the month we're going to have more information. what is that information going to tell us?
Yeah, definitely, man. But from what I've been seeing, man, there's hope out there, man. It's like you said, it's just a little bit worse than the flu. You believe whatever side you want. People say it affects mostly the elderly folks with health conditions and all that, and they're just worried about people that could carry it and then bringing it to them. So I could see where the precaution is there. But for me, man, in all honesty,
in the death rate too. Obviously, it's stronger than the flu death rate wise. But we got to keep it. You still got to keep it in mind that every year thousands of people do die from the flu. So we got to just be a little bit more careful because of the level. Like when you have this many cases and this many deaths, that number is different than the flu, much different. So we got to just. But there's no reason to get too worried about it either. You know what I mean? You got to keep that in between.
Definitely.
We're going to get through this. We're going to get through this.
Yeah, we are definitely, man. And in all honesty, too, these last few days here have been, like, really sunny. And it's really nice, in all honesty, to see people walking their dogs, walking with their families, seeing kids going to go play basketball. Stuff like that, kids skateboarding in the streets. Like, I love that. Like, as long as I'm seeing that, there's definitely light at the end of the tunnel. Like you said earlier, Chris, there's no purge going on. No one's burning the fucking streets down. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, it definitely does seem. It just seems it's just a weird time because to me, I was born in '88, so nothing like this has happened. During my lifetime, but
this hasn't happened in modern history.
Definitely,
America. Yeah, we've never had to shut down our country like that.
Definitely.
Long,
so
this.
So this is definitely a new one to me, and but I'm paying attention as much as I can. History seems to repeat itself all the fucking time, so just look out for that. But as far as that, man, like I said, keep the hope up. The events seem to be, at a halt right now. Hopefully. At the end of April, we all go back back to normal, I would like to say. It sucks that all these events had to get canceled in March. I mean, I've heard of so many good events, man. PBC canceled. There was that big event that Raging Babe, if you're aware of her event, that was going to go on, and that was pretty big for the hardcore fans. You know what I mean? Because to me, it was a big event for me because I am a hardcore fan, and it was at a new network that I know about, and and it was free, so it was something new, you know what I mean? And it was supporting a small time promoter, not a Top Rank, not a PBC, not a Golden Boy. This is a really hardcore fight fan, so I was really looking forward to that, and that got canceled. So I could see, that sucks, you know what I mean, as far as that. But so is there any events happening this weekend? Because I saw that there was supposed to be some DAZN in Ireland. Is that still scheduled?
I mean, there's still stuff on the schedule, but it's really vague. It's I would just say no, but they did one in Thailand. They did a fight in Thailand, and there people that were in the crowd. Now some of them have the virus.
Oh shit! Oh man.
Yeah, so it's like. There are some still on the schedule in April, technically. Yeah, I went over the schedule earlier. I don't have it by me right now. But there are technically still some on the schedule. But you might as well just forget about April. March
definitely,
just forget
dude.
about it. You know what I mean? It ain't
man.
I hope.
Yeah, man.
I think it'll still be like when they reopen our, societies. I still think like at my bar they're gonna say no more than 50 people here. You know what I mean? I still think it's gonna slowly open up. The NBA is talking about mid to late June at the earliest. You know what I mean? So to get and think about like in June for the Joshua fight. That's in a stadium. It's 70,000-80,000 people. Are we going to be ready to do that? I don't know about that. You know what I mean? It's one thing, and I mentioned this earlier. I'm pretty sure you heard this too. Maybe you were busy at the time or whatever. But Boxing does have an advantage, though, of not having a league and all the sponsorships, and also they can do it with less than 50 people in a space and put it on TV,
Yeah. See, that's a good idea for the meanwhile. Like, I like that idea. Like, I saw that Dana posted up like before the rules changed from 50 gatherings to 10. He was going to have the events held down at the PA Center. From what I know of, it's like a little small where they have like the Contender Series. Have you ever seen theirs? It's like it's like a small little building, but
they
it's a ring.
literally have a filming. Yep, it's all in there. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know exactly.
I like that idea. I like that idea.
Yeah,
I like that idea.
I think those things can happen once we get over the hump. I think those things will happen for sure.
Yeah, man, I hope so too, man. I just hope everything goes back. Like, if it takes a while to go back slowly, back to business and all that stuff, just a little, slow, that's fine with me. But man, like, just, you know what I mean? But, like, I hear about the precautions,
Yeah, if you could somehow put a fight on TV, a whole event, and there's nobody in the crowd, that I think we'll be just fine with that. Because a lot of times these small cards don't have big crowds anyway.
Yeah, definitely. Especially like the Showbox the last week on Friday. It seemed to me like there was nobody there, but it seemed like a normal night to me. Like it's like that should look normal to me. Like that's how it Showbox
like
always like.
Less people. There was probably like 100 less people. Yeah, totally.
And
they let that off, but that was on Native American land, so they're not under the. So that's why it is, and that I wouldn't doubt if that's where it starts, because they're under different law. You see what I'm saying? Now every state's different. Some of them have a joint agreement, some of them don't. So that's what that was on Native American land. So that's why they was able to keep going. Well, we got about 15 seconds left, just so you know. 10 seconds.
15 seconds. All right, brother. Well, anyways, fuck the coronavirus. Boxing lives every single fucking day. In this fucking universe, boxing will never stop for any fucking disease. Put boxing gloves on. Anybody could get in a fight. Put it on TV. Let's watch this shit. Viva Ropedo, Viva Christopher Carlson, and Viva Mexico.